Everybody, and welcome to Game of Thrones with Jay, Jack, and Nick. My name is Jay.
I'm Nick.
And I'm sure Burn the Bald Guy.
And welcome to the show. How's it going, gentlemen?
The bald guy and everybody else.
Yeah, well, yeah. And I think she was an equal opportunity massacrist.
Destroyer?
Yeah. So I don't think you can necessarily claim prejudice against the bald-headed people when she...
Well, that started it. Once she figured out it was fun to burn a bald guy, she goes, okay, we're going to just keep going.
Oh, man.
She found a way to feed all the Northerners.
Oh, dang.
We're having a barbecue, Sansa.
Oh, my God.
I don't like my humans extra crispy. Sorry. Sorry, it's too dry.
Well, wow, guys, we're the second to last episode. Generally, the second to, the penultimate episodes of Game of Thrones are kind of the most action-packed and what have you. In the final season, we had the Battle of Winterfell, or the Long Night, so we kind of already felt like we had our big action piece, but we had an episode that might have broken the internet more than the Starbucks coffee cup last week, and it has been a very interesting, day, not even 24 hours after this episode has aired, and just seeing just the range of responses that we've gotten to this episode. And I know a lot of people are going to be curious, mainly probably what Nick thinks, or they probably maybe writing his lines for this episode already in their heads. But yeah, so what you guys think of yesterday's episode?
Well, should I go first before Nick?
Well, you know what? Let's just hold the tease. Let's at least thank people that make this show possible. Our patrons over at patreon.com/JNJack, especially Tack from Tokyo, Eckhart Richter, Maggie the Magnificent, Joanne with the Plan, Drake the Destroyer, and Ed the Creepy Mailman. Our patrons that give whatever they can each month is what funds all of our podcasts, as well as our hosting, everything. Is really through our Patreon. So thank you to those that contribute to our program.
Another thing, too, is they also determine how Game of Thrones is going to end.
If only it was that easy for some people right now today, we'd have a lot more patrons. But for our patrons to give $15 or more a month, we're going to do a live podcast for our Game of Thrones podcast right after
the
series finale airs this coming Sunday. Which should be a lot of fun. For all of our other podcasts, I know the original Bun Patty Bun made a guest appearance on Zachary's Survivor podcast, which is...
Yeah, we were Twisted...
Turn Twisters, or whatever.
Turn Twisters?
Yeah, I think it was Turn Twisters, because we asked him today during bath time, and he's like, the Turn Twisters. I'm like, okay. But
I'm not sure what it is, but Zach and I are
turn
twisters.
But yeah, I listened to it today. It was really fun. So Zach has been doing a challenge cast for our Survivor podcast, but a lot of bonus shows. And then if you like Nick, there is a special series of episodes where one of our good friends, Dennis, kind of coalesced a lot of Nick's stories from his days on the Married Man Show when he first started being a co-host on the Married Man Show. And brought together, was it 4 episodes or 5 episodes, Nick?
It's 4 episodes. I'm sure he's probably working on a 5th, but yeah, they're absolutely great. When Colleen sent all 4 of them to me, I listened to them, and they're all anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour a piece, and they're, in my opinion, comedic gold. But they are weird. They are weird hearing them back to back to back. She's like, man, I say a lot of stuff.
Are you cute in them?
I am cute. I'm cute and funny, like I always am.
That's all we care about.
Just all smiles, never negative.
Yeah, exactly.
Except for tonight.
Well, maybe if you listen to these stories, you'll maybe understand Nick a bit more. Maybe you get a bit more of his backstory, and it won't feel like some sudden change in character development just to move the story
It's
along.
like Johnny from Cobra Kai.
It would be interesting if we had a really good psychiatrist that listened to the Jay and Jet Network, and they listened to all 4 of those, and then wrote me an email going I think I figured you out. I can help you.
But that's we do bonus podcasts for our patrons to give $5 or more a month, and that series is going to be there. So a lot of cool stuff that we do to say thanks to our patrons. All right. So for today's episode, we're going to talk about this latest episode, and what did they end up calling it? I forgot. Burn them all. The bells.
Burnt chicken.
The bell tones.
Is that what it was called? The bells.
The bells. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of Metallica type references because we had the Jaimes Cersei "Nothing Else Matters" line as well. So maybe there's some Metallica fans in the writers' room.
Sure, blame it on Metallica.
Nick, one of my favorite things that Nick sent today in preparation for this, because usually Nick will kind of watch the episode, take some notes, so we don't start till later in the night on Monday, at least our time. And we had a pause there because we had a call coming in for feedback, so I was going to get to that. We have some listener feedback today.
I bet you it's Nick.
It could be. Well, he's in the podcast right now, so it's not.
He can do two things.
But usually we record later in the night, around 9:30 Eastern. So we asked, Nick, this time, what time? He said probably 9. No nitpick or book section because it's all Nick pick. So it should be a fun episode of the podcast tonight. Without any further ado, Jack, you said you wanted to start off maybe with just your initial thoughts here.
Well, again, I put on our Facebook page, I wasn't shocked by anything that happened. Nothing shocked me. I enjoyed it. Plain and simple. I mean, I get what people are saying. I'm not telling you you're wrong for not thinking that way, but I guess I'll be the voice of the positive side today. I'll be the defender of Game of Thrones, whereas you have the people who are angry at it. I mean, I was literally when I watched it, I was about a half hour behind, and so I didn't go on the internet. But then I watched it, and I went, wonder what people think about it. I go, oh my god.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wonder, Jack, maybe we both have the perspective of, we did a podcast about Lost.
Yes.
Maybe some people know that. But seeing
I remember
how that last season was received, there's a lot of echoes. Actually, no, I think this seems even more angry than the last few episodes of Lost. I feel like the end of Lost was maybe 50-50. This one feels like 90-10.
I haven't seen many positives.
But maybe that gives us a little bit more of a filter to kind of process this through.
Maybe this is a Across the Sea episode.
Or actually this one kind of smacked more of, Jin and Sun, going down in the submarine and Saeed blowing up.
I think it's everything that you hate about every bad episode of Lost. So it's Jack's tattoos, Across the Sea, Sun and Jen abandoning their child. It's everything combined into one episode, and then just forcing it down your throat until you're going, do you like that? Do you like that? Yeah! That's basically what it was.
So, Nick...
at least we agree on Sun and Jen abandoning their daughter.
Okay. This isn't a Lost podcast. Let's.
I'm pretty much alone on an island on that one. No pun intended.
But So Nick, what are your thoughts here?
Well, I mean, okay. So my issue with the episode is with, like, I agree with what you're saying. Is and it's got this Lost last season feel to it, but the writers had every opportunity to write as many episodes they wanted, how many seasons they wanted to, and they said, no, we're just going to end it right now. And what they're doing is they're just jamming every single not main character in a pigeonhole or a corner, writing them out, and not giving them their full character arc. And that's what's really bothered me, is just the complete lack of plot, lack of story, and sometimes even reverting back to what their characters were in season 1. And it's the definition of lazy writing. And it just, the whole episode left me bored and had not any emotional attachment whatsoever. And we can get into it as we discuss it. But I just did not care for this episode one bit. It left me just kind of with a meh feeling, and that's it. After all that, I just couldn't believe it. I mean, I think I knew, as with a lot of people, that Danny was going to go bad. But there's no... You basically flipped a character after 8 seasons in 2 episodes and then made her one of the most hated characters there is in one episode. and it's just unfair. And then there's a lot of other injustices to many of the other characters that happen in this episode. And I think the outrage is justified, because I mean, even the Lost writers never went this far to just say, I know we like that character, but we don't have time to address this, so we're just going to say, oh, that's it. There you go, done. And it just I mean, I think the hate is justified.
Well, I think you look at it, and if there is a fault that I think, and where I agree with you, Nick, 100%, is the kind of the condension or compression of all of these storylines, and I think you bring up a good point, and I know, Jack even said, no, don't make it go another season, but I feel like you had at least another 6 episodes you could have taken with this season to really allow some of this stuff to go out, and I think the Dany heel turn, I think there's plenty, in the past 8 seasons that justify her getting there. But I think it was so quick this season because it happened over a matter of 3 episodes. And again, they're longer episodes. But, Dany has a big ego, and nobody was feeding into it. And so the turn made sense, but it happened so quickly that it didn't allow it enough time to breathe. But I think there's plenty of examples of her. I mean, almost at the end of each season, she burns down, a group of people that, slighted her in some way.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, there's absolutely justification of this. And you can see it coming in season 1. She has no emotion when her brother dies. Season 2, she threatens the warlock, not the warlocks, but the keepers of Karth right at their gate, saying, turn us away, we'll burn you first. You can see the anger and the madness a little bit that's in her, but you don't know if she's just bluffing or not. But you even see it, and I think it's last season or when she first got the Dragonstone, you sit there, she even quotes that, because I'm not here to be the Queen of Ashes. Mm-hmm. So, and she's constantly had said, I'm not my father. I'm not the Mad King. I'm not that way. And you have so much also evidence of her being the breaker of chains. You have her freeing slaves. You have so much of her being a good person. To all of a sudden, that's where it really feels wrong, is that you could see her going bad, but you need to know what's going on inside her head, her psyche of it. And that was not explained at all. Yeah. You just know that Jon is the rightful king and that she's lost some people that are near to her, but you don't know what's going on inside of her head. There's not one line that says other than they love you, Jon, and they don't love me. That's it. Yeah. And you can't justify a 180 turn of a character like that.
Well, go ahead. No, I said that on the Facebook page. I go, she kept Tyrion alive for one reason. She wanted to show him how she destroyed King's Landing, how she was doing exactly the opposite, because she felt that he betrayed her. Varys betrayed her, and she torched him. Everyone had betrayed her. Jon had betrayed her, and Jon was like always a person. Look, you got innocent people there. They were all saying you got innocent people there. And she was basically saying, "Screw you." I mean, so I wasn't shocked that she did it. I wasn't. That's why I think that when Tyrion let his brother go, he was doing everything he could. He said, remember he kept telling Jon, "Remember, they ring the bell, they're surrendering. Ring the bell, they're surrendering." He was trying. He knew that she was going to go off.
Well, yeah, I mean, and absolutely. And again, I don't think I was shocked by her doing it, right? It was one of two things. She was either not going to, or she was, right. And I think we all expected there was a chance that she would. But I think and I think Nick brings up a really good point. I think if you had more time or you gave yourself more episodes, you could have spent more time in her mind, because you don't see anything beyond her just sitting there. And even I think you look at I think they even realized they didn't allow enough inner monologue or something to kind of help us understand what's going on in her mind, because in the previously on they kind of show the scene from last week where she's stewing after Missandei's been killed, and then she's walking off, but they're playing all these clips from the past 8 seasons, the thing about Targaryen flipping the coin going mad, a clip from her brother, a whole bunch of different stuff and that actually gave some more context to her state of mind. But that was in a previously on, and they didn't spend any time kind of digging in that today. So I think, to me, it wasn't shocking. And I think it made sense in the story, but it definitely was compressed where you didn't have enough time to I think you have nothing but time. And did they take like another year to like work out some of the scripts and everything? Like I feel like
I wouldn't
you
want
had
them
nothing
to wait
but time to make it.
I wouldn't want them to wait another year, but I would be okay if we had like 3 or 4 more episodes this season.
Right, and HBO offered
like,
that to D&D. They said, would you like to do 12 episodes? Would you like to do 10 episodes? They said, no, 6 is enough. And clearly it wasn't.
Yeah.
No, that was a mistake. But going into, like I said, I knew she was going to do it. I knew it because she also told Jon she chose fear, whatever she said to him, that she knows that the only way she's going to stand, she's ruling the throne out of fear. That's how she's become the ruler of. If she had to, she's terrified
this is what
people
she chose.
into.
And again, I think she had aside from, I don't think she had to massacre the entire town. I think she could have easily just destroyed the Red Keep and made her point.
Right.
But so I understand why she did it. Like it makes sense because all of her advisors have failed her. Jon has failed her. Like everyone has failed her. Her closest people either died or failed her. So she's, kind of going with her base instincts, which she's done before, which is just, torch everybody. So, again, I don't think it's not justified. I just think it happened really quickly. Right. And I think that's where you're seeing a lot of the frustration from people.
Right. That's totally my frustration, too. Like, I mean, like I said, if it would have been spaced out more, it'd been written much better, I would have accepted it completely. But it's too much too fast and not enough development.
Because now we only have one episode left.
Yeah, and it's up in the air. Like, you don't know how they can really do it now. How can they fix? How can you fix Sansa? Is there going to be any more Sansa? Is there going to be more Bran scenes? Or are they just going to keep it in the South and have, like, Jon or Arya, whoever, kill Dany, and then or they both die, and then what's left with the kingdom? Like, that's really much it. Like,
I think she has to be going after Sansa.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
There's no way she doesn't. After all this, she's going after Sansa.
So if Dany kills Sansa, does that redeem the season for you, Nick?
Well, it's not that I wanted Sansa dead. It's just that I agreed with Dany in that one scene. It's when she said you did exactly what Sansa wanted, because that's exactly what she did want. Was chaos. Chaos is a ladder. Littlefinger. And it does. It rises Sansa up a little bit in stature if people die. Mm-hmm. And not saying that she's completely evil, but that's what I think her head was. And I can see Dany now easily flying a dragon up there because Sansa has no army in the north. They're all down south. She can fly a dragon up there in a day, completely burn down Winterfell, and that's it.
She has Brienne.
Brienne's not going to stand up against a dragon.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. And Brienne has been scorned, so do not cross a woman that's been scorned.
I will say this: if someone kills Dany, it better be Jon Snow. I don't want it to be Arya.
Why not? I feel like this whole episode set up Arya to do it. Frankly,
I get that, but it's time. Jon Snow's he put his faith in her.
Yes, but I don't know. To me, I always expected Jon Snow to be the putz that screwed things up. To be honest,
but he needs to right the wrong.
To me, I don't know. I guess if you want to make it like straightforward, but to me, like Jon Snow always is like too like honorable to a fault. And
in fact, she'll tell him before he kills her. She'll say, "I'm pregnant with your child."
And because it's why have the whole Arya, very like smacked of like 9/11? It was like very jarring, that whole escapade with her just like being in the thick of it, and then having the scene with the white horse, and her riding off with it. Other than to set her, like to actually set the stage for her to realize she has to kill Dany.
That's too obvious. I want Jon Snow to step up and kill her. Again, I want Dany to say she's pregnant, and it gives Jon a little. Then he has to decide.
Damn, Jack, you're dark.
I'm just saying that's the way she's gonna say it. Wouldn't you say that if I'm pregnant with your child?
That seems like a. Kelly Kapoor from The Office move. I don't know. But
it worked.
It didn't work for Cersei. But Nick, where do you side? Like, do you feel it's Arya's going to take her out? Or are they going to do it together or what?
I mean, I would prefer it to be Jon. I think Arya's done her part, and I think they're trying to set up Arya now with I mean, we can get to that too, with what happened with her and the Hound and all that, but
yeah. Well, I mean, let's take a second to actually kind of marinate with Arya's story in this one. I mean, we'll go through everybody. Do we feel good about Dany? Do we feel like we can move on from this? I mean, I think it's probably the biggest thing. We can
come back to it, but
we can come back to it. But I love all the memes of everything around, parents that named their kid Khaleesi or Daenerys or whatever. I find that hilarious.
Whoops.
It's why people are like, oh, why don't you use a last name? It's like, no, I'm not using a pop culture name for my kid, but I still think it's a cool name for anybody that did name your kid Khaleesi or Daenerys. Whatever, it's still a cool name. Don't
have a lot of friends.
It's not like you named your kid Adolf or something.
No.
But anyway, Arya. So Nick, you don't think Arya is going to be the one to kind of ride in on the white horse? Or again, I think actually Jack, you make a good point. That would be too obvious. You have to go the opposite of that.
It's too obvious for one, but I think what they were trying to show with the whole Hound and her scene, which to me didn't make sense. It did make sense, but they should have shown some of the chaos that's happening outside before they entered the castle, because then it would have been more. You could see Arya being rattled or the loss of life, and her kind of coming to terms that I might die here. But instead, they don't. They just show them entering the castle, and then the Hound stops her and just convinces her with the sentence like, "There's nothing up there but death, and you'll die." And she's like, "Okay." And I think what they're trying to show here, with what the Hound is saying, is that I lived my whole life for vengeance. Do you really want it to be me?
Yeah.
Is that it struck a chord with her to say
he did say look. He said, "Look at me too."
Right, but I'm saying what they're trying to convince her. They're trying to convince the audience anyway that Arya now has realized that vengeance is not the way, and she's going to give it up. So who knows? That could have been the last scene we ever see of Arya. She could have ridden completely out of King's Landing.
Yeah,
I think somehow she kills the dragon.
I could see that, but and I don't
know how, but I think she's going to kill the dragon.
Well, is it Drogon's fault? Why does he have to die?
Well, the dragons need to end, because. There's no way for people to really live without fear as long as there's dragons.
Yeah.
Because anyone with a dragon can come in and completely wipe out your city and take over, and then you're a slave to that person, depending on who the ruler is.
Case in point, this episode.
Exactly. So
we didn't say she finally figured out how to use the dragon.
Yeah. Did you feel good about that at least, Nick? Because I know you're upset at last week with.
See, now you're making me go down different rabbit holes. So, yeah, I mean, talk about a disappointing scene. Like, oh, my God. So you have Dany dive bomb Euron, and with the fleet 4 times the size of last week's episode, not one arrow hits. I guess she finally learned how to use her dragon. And with, 4 sweeps, completely destroys the entire fleet. Why didn't you do that last week? Were you crying that much? Were you just lollygagging up in the sky? Just makes no sense. Sorry. I mean, and then, this is another issue. It's like, okay, so let's just say that Dany does do this, and she comes in, she knocks out, half the fleet. This would have been a perfect opportunity for Yara to show up with the rest of the Greyjoy fleet to take on Euron finally, and then have Yara kill Euron. But instead, they had this lame-ass fight with him and Jaime, and you have this cheesy-ass line going, "I'm the man that killed Jaime Lannister." It's just, it was eye-rolling bad.
Well, Euron has just been
that one will agree.
Euron's just been kind of an annoying, lame character. I mean, everybody hates Euron. My favorite,
and he should wear sunglasses.
Well, there was one article, and I can't remember which one, where it was from. It might have been AV Club or something, where the manager at your local Hot Topic, because he looks just like one you would see there. But anyway, no, I think you're right. It was very much, and Colleen, as we watched it, made the point, is like, well, this is a way to kind of save your CGI budget after the Battle of Winterfell. Just have the dragon knock everybody out, so there's no battle. But then there was, more chaos that ensued afterwards. But as she made quick work of the Golden Company and the Iron Fleet.
Well, that's what I mean. just since we'll keep going, they basically knocked out one dragon last episode, like we said, to try to convince the audience that, oh, the sides might be even now, because there's one dragon. And then what do? They make Drogon a freaking super dragon who apparently his flames can make stone explode instead of melting. There's so much just weird, exactly. He just flies all the way through King's Landing to knock out the gate. The Golden Company makes them irrelevant. It's like, well, what's the point of having them then? And really the biggest disappointment to me, though, is Cersei. Because we're really supposed to believe, after all these seasons and all the clever tricks up Cersei's sleeve, that she does not have something. She doesn't have some secret plan in order to even the odds. No, it's a one-sided battle that is just boring to watch. Because it's just like, there goes the fleet, there goes the Golden Company, there goes the Lannisters surrender, and that's it. There's nothing to it. It's just a big slaughter, and it's not even worth watching.
Well, and even in defeat, you'd be like, okay, obviously you're going to lose. Go down to the crypt or have some type of escape plan at least. And Cersei didn't even have that apparently, which I think you had a rush of Cersei's arc, unfortunately, this season because she didn't really have anything in this final season except a few shots of her doing her classic kind of sly smirk, which got wiped away in this episode, which I guess you could have some satisfaction in. But there's a lot of frustration around kind of Cersei going out the way she did.
Okay, I put on the Facebook page, because people were up in arms about it. I said her dad died taking a dump.
Well, not
so Cersei is a turd. She's a terrible person. Why does she have to have a glorified death?
I'm not saying glorified. I just think a more befitting her character. She's always conniving and scheming.
She is conniving, but I think that she was just. Her brother. Go ahead, Nick.
I was say Tywin's death though is really interesting because a lot of people believed he was poisoned, which is why his bowels were upset. So he was already dying anyway. And then also the line of always, does Tywin Lannister always shits gold? That's one other reason why he's on the toilet, because it's like, oh, it turns out he doesn't shit gold. It's always a joke and it's funny, and of course he was a shitty person, so it makes sense. Like it was a perfect death for him in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I like that death.
Well, plus, also being killed by Tyrion too, I think adds so much more depth to it, right? Like killing his own father and all the resentment that built up there.
I mean, you look at Tyrion the week before; he pleaded with his sister, saying, "You will die. Your baby will die. You need to." And she just chose.
No, I'm not saying she.
I'm just saying she deserved it.
No, I'm not saying she deserved. She absolutely deserved to die. I just think she didn't have. Like we're talking about story arcs and actually fleshing it out. She didn't really have too much, to be honest, to do this season.
Like Nick said, she wasn't in that much of this season.
Yeah,
Jay said that.
Jay is a mistake. But I had no problem with the way she died. She died in Jaime's arms. Mm-hmm. I think I said last week that they were going to die together. So,
you can either.
Well, that didn't bother me either. That didn't bother me that Jaime and Cersei died together, but it was so anticlimactic because it's like, oh, let's do away with the prophecy of her brother supposed to is the one that's supposed to kill her. She's one of the most hated characters in the show's history to die by stones. It just you could have done it so many ways to where. I mean, I'll just go on to another tirade of with the Varys. I mean, Varys had an unjustified death too. I mean, after all of his secrets, after all his knowledge of him knowing every little crook and cranny of the Red Keep, you kill him at the very beginning of the episode when he could have easily had possibly led Jaime Lannister into the Red Keep, for him to kill her or something like that, and then Jaime could have then seen just how crazy or how sadistic Cersei was at that point. If they had written with some kind of clever thing where she would have actually destroyed the city to justify Jaime having to kill her, even though he didn't want to.
Yep.
And that would have been such a more justified and beautiful ending instead of what we got.
Yep. But in a way, she did destroy the city by not surrendering.
She did, but
to me, it's like again, you only had 6 episodes, so you had to get from point A to point B. So they took the shortest possible route to get there, as opposed to taking your time and fleshing it out. Where to Nick's point, where you could have still gotten the same result, but your journey to get to there would have been much more fulfilling, probably.
Yes, exactly. I think that's really what the frustration is. Is just that people can see, especially with this almost entire season, how many corners were cut to just justify the means. And it's just like little things like, oh, you do this CGI budget, but yet you can't have Jon hug Ghost as he goes away. I mean, come on.
Are you still bitter about that?
Everyone out there should be bitter that Jon did not hug Ghost.
Jon doesn't like to say goodbye.
Well, and again, I think, and again, I also don't want to sound like I didn't hate this episode. Like I enjoyed it. It's a show. I'm not trying. It's not. I wasn't staking my life on but I absolutely understand the frustrations. I do think you could have taken your time with it. I mean, look at and to compare it to another really big story that was kind of unfolded over a long. Like, look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where you had 22 movies, and you had a conclusion that, by and large, people feel was incredibly satisfying and rewarding, and kind of paid off just about every single thing. I mean, there's absolutely things you could probably nitpick throughout, the Adventures in Game or throughout the entire run of those movies, but in general, it's a very satisfying, fulfilling story. And they had even less time to pull that off than they did in Game of Thrones, which has an entire season of shows. So I think, especially if HBO offered it, and there, to me, like, I'm surprised there wasn't some type of management of D&D to say, or like somebody just overseeing it to say, no, we need to actually take our time here. Like, it's the last season. What do we got to lose? Split it into two different, like Breaking Bad, where they split the final season into two separate parts.
I'm glad they didn't do that. Again, I wouldn't want to wait another year.
But that's just you being impatient. Like, wouldn't you rather?
I just add more episodes this season. There was no reason to just drag it out.
But if you need to take time, take the time. Yeah, there's nothing but time left.
They had 2 years.
Well, obviously it wasn't enough. I don't know why, but it wasn't enough.
Come on. I mean, it's 2 years. It's a story. You have some kind of, obviously they had some kind of way they wanted it to end. Just gotta like, I see what Nick's complaining about, and that they rush things. They did rush things. But again, like Danny going mad, I saw that for a while now.
Again, I think everyone kind of see it, but it's just the pivot happened so fast. It happened literally over 3 episodes, right? And again, I all the points are there, like the point A, point B, point C, whatever you want to call it. They're all there. It was very quick and kind of haphazard. I will say though, there was still some scenes in this, maybe just one, that I thought was really moving. Was the Tyrion and Jaime scene. I thought was really well done, and kind of their moment together.
Yeah,
I thought
absolutely.
was really good.
Yeah. I mean, you had to feel in that moment. Absolutely.
If you want to say Jaime did get his moment, whereas Cersei maybe didn't.
Did Jaime though? I mean, to me, I felt like he got his moment
because his brother told him, you were always nice to me. Where everybody, you protected me. Yeah. I'm here. I mean, that was an emotional scene.
Yeah.
Whereas Cersei just got nothing but I'm.
Well, that's what frustrated a lot of people too. Is Tyrion's fine. It's a good touching scene because he's like, you're the reason why I'm alive. Because without you, I would have snapped. You're all I had. It's a great scene. But then you also see Jaime revert to almost season 1 Jaime of not caring about anybody but Cersei. Yeah. And so all of the character development of every season of him slowly kind of leaving Cersei behind and becoming a human being, it just gets thrown out of the window. Now, I get it. I get the argument that, his one wish, which he even said, was to die in the arms of the woman he loves, which is Cersei. But it just didn't feel right, And on top of that, you made me feel sorry for Cersei, and I don't want to feel sorry for Cersei. I don't care.
I didn't feel sorry for Cersei.
Well, to me,
I did, but with Jaime though, he said last week in last week's episode, I'm a bad guy and I'm bad because of her. And there's just people in life that we hang around people. I can't stand this person, but why am I still around him?
I mean,
It's
I
just
say that
because
every week
they have
podcast
that.
with you.
They just have it over us.
Well, to me, but I get it. Like again, because you see it. Those people are in toxic relationships. But to Nick's point, you had his entire growth, and especially last season where he finally diverged from her, and beginning of this season, even though it was kind of corny, but he was with Brienne, and so
But when he realized she was going to die,
and even then I get it, going back to her, but then just to go and die with her, like to me it would have been much more satisfying if he was torn, and showing the actual growth and emotion, and that maybe he has to kill her, or that he gives her sympathy even though he has all these issues,
remember he started growing because he got away from her. He was away from her, her evil ways.
Well, that's the argument then he shouldn't have went back, right? But
no, he should have went back, but again, it's just that's.
But anyway, I mean, because even then we saw the is it called Dragon's Fire, the green stuff?
Yes. Yeah, there was a few hidden caches of wildfire.
Wildfire, thank you.
Wildfire, that's what it is. Yeah.
Like even then, like it would have been cool if it was like if we're kind of paralleling earlier stories where she was actually just going to blow it all up. So that Daenerys wouldn't have anything to rule.
Right, now that would have made more sense. Exactly, yeah. And it would have been poetic justice if Jaime comes in. Let's just say he's mortally wounded the way he was.
Yeah,
and he sees Cersei really just raving, like raving mad. I'm going to blow up the city because I have nothing else to lose.
Yep.
And then maybe the mountain is or Qyburn has an escape route for her so she can get away with her baby. And then Jaime's like, no, you can't do this. And then blah, 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 and then he does. He kills her, and that would have been much more justifiable.
Now, do you think that the reason they didn't do that is because that's what everybody was predicting?
But
I'm just
go with.
I'm going from a writer's standpoint. If you're, because then people go, well, there's a shocker. We knew that was coming.
Well, yeah, everyone else was expecting the Clegane Bowl too, but we got it. I mean, I would have much rather had a predictable ending and liked it than what we got and be like, what the hell was that?
But you see my point. Sometimes
I do see your point.
People go, all right, screw it. This is what everybody thinks we're going to do. We have to do something different.
Yeah, but don't do different just for difference sake. Like it still has to be good. You can't just.
Like I said, you could have done anything. Like you could, like I said, like you really there were missed opportunities even with Varys. Like I wanted Varys to be a Targaryen and flip the Golden Company on Cersei or whatnot, and that could have easily been like, well, oh my God, everyone's betrayed me. I'm going to burn the city, and you could have had Varys lead. You could have had them both. You could have had Tyrion and Jaime enter the city, and there could have been a conflict with even just within the Lannister family of who's going to die and what are we going to do, and it would have fulfilled the prophecy. It would have been such more interesting. I mean, to me, I don't know. I just like that. I mean, I'm not trying to say a fan theory that I'm going to hark on, but I just want a good result.
Yep. Yeah, and to me, it's just like I get it. Like you don't want to be predictable, but it still has to be good, or it has to be satisfying.
But what I'm saying though is a lot of people, the reason they didn't like Lost is because what they predicted didn't happen.
Right.
Well,
I'm not saying everybody, but are there a lot of people out there that said, "Oh, we wanted Jaime to be totally redeemed, and we wanted Jaime to kill Cersei and break those chains, and have been holding him for his whole life." Well, that didn't happen. He died with her, holding her, in his arms. Are people mad about? Could some people be mad about that?
Well, there's always going to be some people that want their fan theories come true. Like I said, I've said this many times about Lost. I mean, the thing about Lost is there were so many unanswered questions by the time at the end that people really it's the same thing. It's like, think about the map, that's on the wall in the hatch. People really broke that down, and then it became nothing. And there's so many of those in Lost where it's like, well, what's up with this? What's up with that? I mean, Game of Thrones doesn't really have that. Everyone was heading towards a central point, and we just wanted that last point to be fulfilling.
We want Sansa on the throne.
No, I mean, I get it. Like, there's going to be people that are upset it's not going the way they thought it was going to go. But again, I think it's obvious that it was kind of rushed. Like, even the Clegane Bowl, which a lot of people were excited about, was kind of it felt out of place in this episode, where it was if you're talking about predictable, or whatever. Again, and I it's not that I didn't like it, like, and I liked his, and I liked the wisdom that he imparted to Arya. Like, I really thought that was a nice moment between the two of them. So I think those things were, again, I to me, like, I liked just about every conclusion. Like, I liked the actual, or I was perfectly fine with what happened. It felt very truncated. It felt really short. Like, you had 40 minutes of Dragon Holocaust,
Right.
and about 5 minutes.
5 minutes of Arya just running around.
Yeah, and if you can have 40 minutes of Dragon Holocaust,
plus you knew she wasn't going to die.
Yeah. She has pretty good plot armor. But
everyone around her, she was a Sam of this episode.
Well, exactly. I'm saying, like, it's a little, but
get up, you gotta run.
But okay, so if you can spend that much time, like, again, it was, I think, positive. It was like 40 minutes left once all this stuff was going down, but you couldn't spend an extra 5 minutes on making helping us understand Dany's turn better, or giving a little bit more drama, or get rid of the Euron Jaime Lannister battle and spend more time on. I will
say
Cersei.
That was my least favorite scene.
Because
that is your classic lazy writing, because he just happens to show up as Jaime's getting in there and they blah blah blah. Okay, that I will agree 100%. That was a terrible scene.
Or even to Nick's point, like, have actually have a battle in the with the Iron Fleet and have her come back, because again, she's out there, right? So that would be really cool.
So it's like, I guess they just forgot about her, because like, what purpose does she serve if she's in the last episode now?
Just to be there, like, at the end, like, in the
just
background.
To be there, yeah. The celebratory.
I was late. Sorry.
Yeah,
but that would have been cool, because then she would have got vengeance against Euron, which would have been way cooler than him showing up as Jaime's going to the back. Also, can we just say Jaime had, like, is he the slowest walker in the history of the world? Like, how long does it take you to get into the damn Red Keep? Like,
well, he's got a heavy hand.
Well, yeah, you had to go around. It's a big city. But I mean, you should be more impressed that he took 2 mortal wounds with at least a 7 to 8 inch blade in the side and still managed to keep walking. You're like, yeah.
He did it for love.
He did, yeah.
Or again, it would have been even cooler, like, if he got there but he couldn't actually get there to save her, and then he watches her die because he couldn't make it all the way or something like that. That's a little bit more, dramatic, I guess. But anyway, I think in general, Varys just like, okay, like, this guy who really was, one of the puppet string pullers, kind of went out, kind of got done dirty, Can I
ask a question?
Yeah.
Where were Jaime and Cersei going to hide once they got to the dinghy and sailed away? Where were they going to hide?
Well, they'd have to go to some island and then actually it'd be like Arya, charter another ship to probably Essos or somewhere else.
But someone's going to recognize them.
Exactly. How are you gonna? Well,
if Dany and
the guy with the
what's
golden
his name
hand and the ex, queen of Westeros?
Yeah, that scene was kind of. I see what Tyrion's trying to do, but
well, as long as you're on the run, there's a bit of hope.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, let's just now this thought. So, like, let's say that happens there, whereas then Jaime does show up, mortally wounded, and he can't quite get to Cersei, but then she sees him there on the ground. She runs to comfort him, and she cries because he's dying and all that. But then in that moment, because he's dying, that's when she snaps, decides to destroy the city. But then Tyrion walks in and Varys, and then they kill her. I mean,
Varys is already dead, though.
In my version, he didn't die
yet. I don't think Cersei would run to Jaime's arm and to die in Jaime. I don't think she'd do that.
Well, you did see her do that in this episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, she did it because she didn't have a choice.
She wouldn't have much of a choice in that version, too.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, if she had a chance to escape, she'd probably escape and leave Jaime to die.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
But that's what I'm saying. She wouldn't, if she goes, okay, I can go this way and be okay, or I can go to Jaime. I'll see you, Jaime. See you another light, brother.
And then he senses the betrayal, and then he gets that gumption that he had apparently in this thing, and then goes and kills her.
There you go. Finally, that's a much okay. There
right? Okay, that's what I'm saying. Like, you would think in the writers' room they'd have these conversations.
You would think.
No, maybe the writers are all like Dany, and it's their way or the highway.
Or maybe that's where I think
Maybe one of them has a pet dragon, and so
8 years in, like nobody, and that's where it's important not to have groupthink because it could very easily, turn into sure, it's a great idea. Yeah, you do great ideas, or it's just they're collecting a check at this point. But again, I feel like there should be, or even George R.R. And again, if I'm gonna be really tickled, like, oh, George R.R., save us, save us with your books. It's like, screw you, George R.R. You couldn't finish your damn books to actually make it good anyway, or be involved with it. He's a chicken. I
don't know if I said it this year or last season, but I remember saying, I go, he's waiting to see how it ends. If it ends, everybody loves it. He'll say, yeah, that's the way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And if it's like, well, now it's terrible, he's going to say, I tried steering them in the right direction. I'll have to finish this and correct what their mistakes were.
Well, I just read an article before we hit record that was from a convention somewhere in Europe with Sir Barristan, the actor who played Sir Barristan. Mm-hmm. And he admitted that the HBO deal that George R. R. Martin signed didn't allow him to publish a book while the show was on. And he actually has the 6th and 7th book done. Ugh. And that's
why wouldn't they want to use his guideline? Why would they?
That's a good question. I guess it's something that also D&D wanted as well, because George had been saying that from the very beginning. I heard him say it many times that the show's going to be its thing, my books are going to be my thing. So, the ending that you get with the show can be completely different than the ending I'm going to give you. And I think he actually wanted that as well. He didn't want people comparing one with the other at the same time. Because you're constantly going to get that fight of like, well, this version's better in the book, that just came out versus what just happened in the show.
My thing is, like, kind of like you guys are saying, you check your egos you have something that's one of the greatest shows in the history of television, and it's coming down to its conclusion. And it's always the hardest thing for shows to end in a way that people go, oh my God, I love it. And there's only so many Breaking Bads, and so
Cobra Kai.
If I'm have anything to do with this show, I'm gonna say, okay, let's bring all the best, and let's have our legacy be we created one of the greatest shows from start to finish of all time. Not one where people are second guessing and all this different stuff. Then a guy can go out there and put the books out and go, oh, that's much better. Because now you're gonna hurt if his books are better received than how they end this, then you've hurt the legacy of this show.
They've already done it.
I don't think it's Dexter level. But
I do. I think last night's episode was a show killer.
There's no way this is Dexter level. There's no way. No, no way this is Dexter level.
I think people will still watch the show and enjoy it, but I think everyone will agree that this episode was probably the worst of the series.
So you're saying, okay, what was the jump the shark moment then?
This is the jump the shark moment. Yeah, it's just because it's all one-sided. Because not from minute one, they robbed the audience of any kind of successful conclusion, starting with Varys. It's just like, how do you get from him looking at Tyrion saying like, well, I'm not sure, or I've made my decision or whatever, to all of a sudden you're guilty, boom, you're dead. Because all you see is him writing 1-2 notes to someone admitting who Jon's true name is. And there's a little hint that he might be trying to poison Dany through the food from that little girl. But other than that, there's nothing really to justify it. And then he just goes out when, like I said, he could have been utilized so much better. So to me, it was a very cheap way to kill him. And there's, I don't know, like I said, like with Jaime, with Dany, with so many things that just happened. The one-sided battle, Arya flipping on a dime, everything that happened. Even look at Grey Worm, who's always been an honorable person, just goes, and in all of Dany's army, they all just go full psycho.
Well, there was a scene where he hands her leather,
the collar, the slave
collar, and I think she did that to get him to be angry, she wanted him to have as much hate in him as she had.
That's possible.
I think that scene he finally found the love of his life, probably the first love he's ever had, and to see her die that way, and then probably with the way Dany was acting and the whole collar thing, the way he throws it in the fire, he was ready to go. He was ready to kill anybody he could get his hands on.
To me, the
No,
Grey
I
Worm
think
thing
I think that's a legitimate.
No, yeah, I don't think Miss Sandy being killed, blah blah blah. Like, I could see it, but again, I think if you're having people that are upset, like, to me, even the Dany and her turning, like, to me, I think all of that makes sense. I think it's just
it makes sense.
It was so compressed that it really, to me, the things that were the compression really hurt. I agree with you, Nick. The Varys thing was so compressed that it felt jarring, or it felt like a slight to his character. And the Cersei Jaime thing was a slight to their characters. The Arya thing, I think, the sequencing could have been better, but I still, I enjoyed that scene between Clegane and Arya.
Yeah, there's definitely enjoyable moments in the episode.
Yeah,
but then, like, even look at Jon Snow, like how every minute of screen time he got was complete waste. He hardly had any lines in this movie. I mean, in this episode, and then
he was in shock.
Yeah, but then even look at the one person you see him kill. It's like, what's the point of that? What's the point of a soldier trying to rape a woman just for Jon to kill her? You already know Jon's a good guy and he's a moral guy. So what purpose does it serve other than just to show that things are being chaotic?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, it's the same as with Arya running for 5 minutes. It's like, what are you trying to show by her telling people you're going to die just for them to die? It's just, to me, it was a lot of waste. Of just,
it was a lot of doom porn. It was a lot of doom porn for sure.
Yeah,
that's why I think, like, again, you had the 40 minutes, and that's what you spent it on. When you could have done more character, you could have spent more time on Varys. You could have spent more time on Jaime. Like, if you're making these episodes movie length episodes, take the time. If you only have 6 episodes, take the time. Like, these that action set piece, cool story, bro. But actually, no, there's no story. So where are we going with it? So I think, and again, I understand it. Like, if that's what you wanted, cool, but make another episode in between before you get there, or 2 episodes before you get there, and make Battle of Winterfell 2 episodes. Like,
but you also had the first 2 episodes people bitching and complaining because nothing was going on, that they were setting things up.
Now, again, I think that setup I thought was fine.
So did I, but you had a lot of people complaining that they didn't like the first 2 episodes.
Ryan Hewlett didn't,
slow,
not like
boring.
The
what was the point of them? I mean, you had a lot of people that didn't like them.
Well, because again, I think they spent the time there, but it could have been spread out more evenly. So
I agree. I will never understand if HBO came to me and said, we're going to give you 9 episodes or 10 episodes, or, like, I think Nick said 12. I'd probably do the 12 episodes, but I wouldn't have done it over 2 years. I would have finished
over 1 year. Like, same thing Breaking Bad, where it had 6 episodes like in the spring and then 6 episodes in the fall or something.
That's good for you young kids, but it's us people getting up there in age.
See, that's just you being greedy. That doesn't actually mean it's
not being greedy. It's like, okay, I've spent 8 years on this. I want to see a conclusion.
Yeah. Sure. So
I'm not going to live forever.
I think you are why. I think your attitude is why this season's bad. So it's really, we have people like you to blame, Jack.
That's fine. I can take it. It was always there. This is no surprise. It was always there for me to be blamed anyway. If you go back and look at the 8-year history,
just like Varys,
and the 5 or 6 years we podcasted on, I think we took a couple years off Game of Thrones. It's always been my fault.
Yep, exactly.
People didn't see it.
Guys,
so people are like, "Wow, I never saw Jack being the reason it was."
Any other thoughts here before we go into our listener feedback? Before we say any of those, I will say next week, unlike HBO, we're going to take our time with the final episode. We're going to have 2 episodes. We're going to have a post-show kind of live episode that you'll be able to experience it live for our patrons to get $15 or more a month, and then we'll post it on our feed for everyone the next day, and then we'll do a more in-depth and plus a lot of listener feedback either later in the week or the week following. So we, unlike HBO, we don't shirk taking some extra time to make sure we do the final episode justice. But gentlemen, any final thoughts here on this episode? Let's lay them to rest before we get to listener feedback.
There's some things like let's go back to Clegane Bowl.
Okay.
So this I thought was another strange kind of forced scene. I mean, I was happy it happened, but you see how quickly Cersei needed to pick better Kingsguard. They all go down like nothing. And then I was a little disappointed in the death. I mean, I thought it was cool, but I just didn't see. I figured they would both die, but them just
the
falling
fire,
to
right?
their
That was
death,
kind of.
I thought was a bit.
Well, he couldn't kill him.
Yeah, I know.
And then when he realized that, that's when he said, "Okay, I'm going to push him over." And then him dying by fire, kind of predictable.
I guess just all the deaths in this episode kind of left me emotionless. Like I wasn't really an emotional attachment to the loss of these people, because like you were definitely rooting for the Hound, but at the moment of the death, you weren't like, F yeah, or like, oh man, like it was just kind of like, oh okay, like that's how I felt about.
Well, the only deaths that affected me were the mother and child that Arya got killed.
Yeah, but like even that, you're kind of like, what's the point of that death? Like really, like why was it in there?
It was just to show. It was just to show that Dany is a terrible person. That she just burned a mother and child.
Well, I think we had that though for like 40 minutes of people getting.
Yeah, but this one really, they were hugging.
Like if you didn't think it was bad, now let's get really into this.
No, it really took to that point where I said, okay, I no longer like her.
Well, that's.
I know she's killed about 800,000 people so far, but those two deaths right there have crossed the line. Sorry, Dany, I'm no longer on your side. I'm full in on Team Sansa.
I will say, like I'm kind of with you, Nick. Like it didn't have as much emotional impact because it kind of wasn't. The fact that he was a zombie kind of took away a bit of the.
That was kind of like
point of it. Like you couldn't kill him, so I was like, okay, I guess I'm just suicide pacting this right now.
Yeah. That was kind of like, well, going in, we knew he was a zombie. I mean, we knew he couldn't kill him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I'll go into like some of the little things I had written down here. So like,
Nick's like, no, I have them, and I'm going to go through every one.
Well,
like, where's Bronn?
Where's Bronn in this seasons?
Where's Bronn in this episode? Because now, him showing up next episode. The same as like with Yara, it serves no purpose. If he shows up and going like, I always knew you guys would win, it's like, well, yeah, we should just kill you too.
Yeah, pretty much.
He kills the dragon.
Well, he could, but like I said, like now it's like Bronn, just go away. You played your hand. You've played your hand. Just go away now.
Yeah.
Now, if Bronn just goes away, then you're going to hear me.
Well,
next
Jaime's dead, and Tyrion's in no good standing. So his gambit to not kill Jaime then kind of was a waste.
I say he kills the dragon.
Maybe you said that about Arya too. So you have to pick a horse.
Not everybody can kill the dragon, Jack.
Yeah. And then like, what happened to the Iron Throne? I would have liked to have seen the Iron Throne collapse or melt or something. That was a letdown. It's like if you're going to destroy the Red Keep, then show that.
It's probably salvageable.
Probably
it's still there. Yeah. Everything else is gone, but the throne's still there.
Everything's burning around it, and Dany just goes sits on it.
Well, that'd been a cool shot. Like even like show like the throne, like a shot of the throne and everything crumbling around it. That'd have been a cool shot.
Yeah. It would have been. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why you need good writers to think of this stuff. We've had one day and we thought of it. I guess that's really it. We can get into the calls.
Well, did you like Dennis had a suggestion? Do we think it's going to be like 3 months later, 4 months later, a year later?
I could see it being that way, like opening up with like rubble of the town, and then I don't know.
There should be a time jump of some sort, just because it's only one episode left, and I feel like there's so much. God, there's so much stuff that still needs to happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen, and that's why it's an impossible feat. And I hope it's going to be like a lost ending to where like I was disappointed in the season, but I loved the ending. Mm-hmm. But we'll see.
I'm not willing to bet that you will.
Hey, you never. We give Nick a hard time. I feel like he's been fair this season. He hasn't been over.
No. Hey, I'm just anyone should be allowed to have their opinion on a show. We're not robots. So I have no problem with people that hate it and don't like it and literally have no problem with it. And I said the same thing with Lost. Okay, you didn't like it. I get it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love Lost. Like I said, I'm just disappointed in the last season, but I liked the last episode. I've said that since the time it aired.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, there's things in this episode I didn't like, but overall, I had no problem with it.
Very true. But it could be your concussion. I don't know. Maybe
that could be it too.
The dragon gets you too,
or you still have some residual effects of Drake's brownies.
Yeah.
I didn't want to tell the doctor that today, so I just said no. But no, she's pretty convinced that it's a concussion.
Did you get hit by some rubble from the Red Keep?
I might have. It's supposed to be the safest place, but
Not
really
today.
was.
They'll fight for their queen. They're running. They're running. They're running for their lives, Cersei.
Oh man! All right. Do you guys want to start with the emails or the calls?
Whatever you decide to do works for me.
Well, before we get into that, let's take a quick moment for a commercial break.
Listener feedback.
All right, it's listener feedback time. Let's start off with some email.
Some hate mail.
I don't know yet. I have not read it, so we will just, assume that it's positive.
Okay.
Actually, we only have one email. The rest are calls. So, anyways, the title of this email is, well, alrighty then. I wonder if Mr. George R.R. Martin is ready to walk back those comments about the ending of Lost now. Not so easy, is it, George? Karma. The only truly satisfying conclusion was the Hound and the Mountain showdown. The Hound takes the mountain in the flames for the win. Poetic. I think, I know Nick's still defending George R.R. here, but I kind of, George R.R. can kiss.
Well, that's not his fault.
It is. He's the person that created this thing. You tell me he couldn't be there in those meetings saying, "Hey guys, this kind of is not what you should do."
No, I think he's probably a little bitter. I mean, even though they made him a multimillionaire, why would he completely give them all the goods?
Because they made him a multimillionaire.
Because even if it's not his fault, who are they going to blame?
And here's the thing:
it's D&D's fault. The guys who wrote Troy.
Okay, here's the thing.
I get that, but they're going to blame him.
Before this HBO show, was Game of Thrones anything beyond a nerd niche thing?
No.
So
I'll be honest with you, I had never heard of it.
Well, that's not surprising, Jack. I mean, you're not really a nerd, but I mean, I think.
Oh, I'm the biggest nerd in the world. I wasn't that kind of nerd.
Now that nerds are cool, you're like, no, I'm a nerd, guys.
I've always wanted.
Jack's a bigoted nerd.
Again, you growing up in my generation, you couldn't admit it. You
exactly. Well, no, there was nerds that still admitted it. You just didn't want to be ridiculed. So
I was a closeted nerd. I didn't got enough crap in life. And said, "You're a nerd too." Oh,
maybe that's why you've been cursed your whole life, because you weren't living your true life.
Then I'm still alive because of it.
All right. Let's go into some phone calls. Here we go.
Hey, Jay, Jack, and Nick. This is Shandy. I am calling in with some feedback for Season 8, Episode 5. First and foremost, I have to say, I'm usually just content to watch the episodes. I don't get super riled up. I am, I can suspend my disbelief. I didn't read the books, so I'm not particularly upset about, inconsistencies and things like that. I can get over the super fast pacing at times. So, just to say, however, episode 5 kind of sucked. So I wanted to send in some feedback. I'm sure there's a lot that you guys will pick apart, but I wanted to talk a little bit about Cersei in particular. I just think that it's too bad that one of our most formidable characters in Game of Thrones ends up getting crushed by stones in the arms of Jaime Lannister as she's crying and talking about how she just wants her kid to survive. I just thought that was really bad writing and not a very satisfying end for somebody who has been such a big bad throughout the whole series. And I actually watched the little special, after the episode where the directors dive into it a little bit and explain some of their thinking behind it, because my original thought was, did they just not really think through Cersei's death? And it was interesting to watch that because they talk about how in season 5, Jaime and Bronn have this conversation about how they'd like to die, and Jaime talks about how he would like to die in the arms of his love. And so, hearts, that's what happens for him. Yay, Jaime. So clearly Benioff and Weiss did think through how they were going to kill off Jaime, and they gave him an ending that connected back to a prior season and was kind of nice for his character and whatever. So it's not that they didn't think through how that death was going to be, but it's that they only thought it through for the male character. And then I was like, oh, right, these are the same dudes that back in season 4, when Jaime raped Cersei, were like, oh, no, it started out that way, but then but then it wasn't, because then she was okay with it, as if that was a thing that happened. And so I think that the through line in this is that we have, in this series, you know, that has a lot of strong female characters, it seems like the directors and the writers are most concerned with our male characters. And this, you know, this, you can even go back to Sansa and the scene where she's raped, and we see it, basically we see what it does to Theon, and it's like more about his reaction to that than her actual experience. So just like on a whole, just kind of disappointing. And as Amanda said in my conversation with her, they should have really just maybe had more women in the writer's room. And that's a bummer. So I guess we'll see how it ends. Interested to see your take. All right. Thanks guys. Bye.
Thank you, Shandy, for that call.
I do remember complaining about when Jaime rapes Cersei.
Yeah.
Well,
I remember not liking that scene.
That wasn't even in the book, the actual raping, right?
No.
So that was like
that
when
was
they took
that
on...
was at their son's funeral, right? There's the
yeah.
Yeah, I remember saying that at the time. I didn't like it. I go back to Cersei. You know, maybe people wanted Arya to kill her. Maybe that would have been better, or some of the other things we came up with. She's a terrible person.
No, I agree. Like she needed to die, but I think, and we hopefully Shannon, hopefully we kind of gave you context to our feelings about that, because we were disappointed as well. But yeah, I think there's just so much you could have done, and for some that has been one of the big bad, and really since she took over the throne, like she barely had any time, and then the actual ending of it was kind of lame, and I know that but I even think the Jaime ending for him was lame, and and I know they may have said that, oh well, he said this in one conversation before, but it's almost just like kind of like a justifying that lazy tie up to the storyline. So you know, I think there has been quite a few sex related problematic issues in the show. I mean, and also it being set in a time when, you know, those things were an issue. You could use that excuse, but again, it seems like the showrunners D&D take it to another level sometimes. So I think it's absolutely a fair criticism. But yeah, I think the Jaime resolution is lame in that scenario, and the Cersei resolution is lame.
But I think what she's trying to say, though, they did give Jaime kind of his...
they're justifying Jaime's, but not
They're
Cersei's,
justifying Jaime, but not Cersei. I see that. But with Cersei, it's like she just needed to die. I mean,
I know she needed to die, but it could have been cooler. It could have been more... Yeah. I don't know.
Well, should we have had Arya go through and kill her?
No, I think it'd been cooler if Jaime did or Tyrion did. I feel like that would have been a more... Yeah, I think Nick said there's a prophecy about it. Nick, what's again? I don't want to hamper too much because we talked about it, but in context,
right. I mean, there was a prophecy of it that the little brother would kill her, and they just said, no, we don't need that. So that's disappointing. But I think they were trying to also prove Tyrion right about Cersei in this scene, so they're not totally negating Cersei's character in that she only has ever cared about her family. You know, so in that moment when she knew it was all over, she did remember that she loved Jaime and she did want her baby to survive. So, because that's all that mattered to her.
Well, she should have thought about that sooner.
She should have, yes, exactly. If it really meant something to you, you would have left because you knew that the gig was up.
She didn't care until it was like, oh, like you're saying, oh, I'm out of options.
And again, for a character that was so conniving and so, you know, could play the long game, and
you think she would have? They should have given her I agree with that. They should have given her a better, you know, at least trying to do something.
You tell me you're waiting until the entire thing is crumbling? Like, come on now.
Right. Just staring at the demise of everything happening.
Yeah, I mean, she's the woman that took out the Sept, you know, with such a clever plan, and that she has zero plan when it comes to the defense of King's Landing. It's like all you have is the Golden Company and the Navy outside. That's it.
Yeah,
like it's like that. It's so weak. Mm-hmm. You know, I expected some card up her sleeve, and it just never happened.
Or at least something like maybe she still loses, but at least it makes the battle Again, like when they had Battle of Winterfell, like there was moments where like, okay, they were coming. I was like, oh nope, now there's a big winter storm that knocks out the dragons or whatever. Like
Right.
you could use the wildfire to like blow up and maybe knocks out Drogon for a period of time until he can come back and save the day or something. Like there's so many things that someone of Cersei's caliber could have pulled off to I think maybe give her. She still ends up dying because she does deserve to die because she's one of the big bads of the show. But at least let her kind of have her doing what she does
I was
best.
thinking the whole time that the way she just kept standing there, I said, okay, she's got what's going to happen. And then nothing did happen. But like I said, she's a turd and she died. I had no problem with it.
But I agree, Shandy. Like there should have been a woman's perspective in some of this. And I think George R. R. Martin writes women very beautifully. I mean, sometimes they are one-dimensional in the books, but there are tons of examples of strong women. Because like Ygritte, to me, in the books is way better than in the show. Even though I think the actress did a good job, you just really sense it from her that she's an independent, strong woman and is confident. Same as with Cersei, and then you look at all the rest of them with Sansa and Arya. Like it's all of it. A lot of their characters are about being naive and then becoming strong characters, and that's where, like I said, like a lot of the issue with this episode is a lot of these characters are reverting to their weaknesses again, and so it's like, well, what the heck?
Yep. All right, let's go to this next call. But thank you, Shandy. And if you enjoyed her voice and her thoughts, check out the broadcast, which she is one of 3 hosts on the Jay and Jack Network.
And Matt.
Oh, come on. Poor Matt. He has a great
Matt the traitor.
He's not a traitor. He's an honorary broad. And so am I. If Matt's a traitor, then so am I.
Well, we've been saying that. We've been saying that for a while now. It's no shock.
Yeah, a couple of years.
Yeah.
This is for the Game of Thrones podcast. This is John from Houston. This series has totally jumped the shark. To pull a stunt this stupid with one episode left is just shows no respect for the fans that have spent all these years watching and enjoying this show. For Dany to go and destroy the entire King's Landing and the Red Keep was totally unnecessary. Yeah, I know she lost her mind, but this could have been played so many different ways. Anyway, all I got. Thanks. Bye.
John from Houston, I feel like you are representative of a lot of people online.
Again, I think she did it to show Tyrion.
I don't mind. Again, I don't mind the heel turn for Dany. I feel like there's enough things there to show it. But again, I think my problem is it was very condensed, so it felt abrupt. But I don't or unearned. But to me, it's.
Do you think the writers are just at like maybe even Shandy was saying, the writers are just out of touch with certain things and they just don't?
Yeah, I mean, to me, like if your writer's room, it's just like any type of organization, and we've all worked in different companies and different groups of people, different managers, and when you have the ones where you have an open environment where people can challenge ideas and say like, I don't think that's a great idea, we should maybe do this, or even just try and do your best thing, you generally come out with a better product than maybe where you have a different situation where you have somebody where everyone just kind of says yes, or maybe a bunch of brown nosers, or it's just not an environment where people feel like you can challenge ideas or come up with.
Because you literally had 2 years to get it right.
I know, and that's where to me it's like it's shocking that they didn't have some type of writer's room situation. And again, I don't know. I personally don't know.
And you also have to know your fan base too.
Well, yeah, and to me it's like how do you not have? And again, I'm armchair quarterbacking this to the max. Like I don't know. I've never been, or I don't know how this works, but I've seen it when it does work.
As a writer, I know how it works. So it's just.
So I don't want to sit here and say like this is how you should do it, but I feel like I have been in work situations where it's like you've been in situations where you can challenge things or say like this actually that probably won't work right. Why don't we do this? And you end up with a better product. So I'm just surprised that
what I said in the beginning is would they've been better off if they just did it how the fans wanted it.
No, I don't think you have to do it how the fans wanted it, but
I'm saying okay, these are your options. They did it the way they did it, or they do it the way the fans do it. Which would you pick?
No, I don't. To me, fan service can be just as bad. I think you should make the best thing possible. Like they're like the Russo brothers that did Captain America: Civil War and the last 2 Avengers movies. They would go into their writers' room and say, and as they're coming up with the stories, we want to honest trailer proof this movie. That is to say, if you don't, honest trailers where they basically just kind of like, nitpick a movie for 3 minutes. But to me, so they go in, and again, there's still going to be parts where you could still, nitpick or, say that's not, but you should have some type of filter to say, like, how do we avoid, like, isn't there somebody there to say, like, how do we avoid jumping the shark or whatever you want to say?
But you think if Arya would have kept going with the Hound and she would have met and she slits her throat or whatever she does to her to kill her, do you think we'd have the complaints we have today?
If it was really quick and unearned like everything else, then I think you'd still have complaints, possibly. But at least you were setting it up over episodes that she wanted to go, or at least seasons that she wanted to go and kill Cersei.
Because it was on her list, yes. But it was also the Hound was also on her list.
But again, I think you explained it. Like, you showed, like, there was a mutual care for each other in the end. Okay. So you got there, and I think you earned it. But to me, like, if I was in this writer's room, I would want to hire a Nick. So at least I had somebody, or at least multiple people, that were countering these ideas to make sure that you come out with the best idea possible.
Yeah, and maybe they did.
I don't think so.
It's just like what I said last week. When you have contradictory thoughts, when you have Arya and Sansa going, "We're family, we'll always be together," and then the next scene, Arya's riding away, without saying anything to anyone, when she should have spoken up in the war room saying, "Hey, I'm an assassin. I'm going to go down and kill Cersei." That could have done so much of just like go, and all this could have been avoided.
But wasn't Dany in that room though too? I don't think Dany would have gone for it.
Well, it might not have, but it's still a plot point that should have been addressed.
Yeah, could have been addressed, but then
Or you let that happen.
They don't trust Dany though.
No, you let that happen, right? So she's going off to do it. Now you have that all, and then you have Dany that doesn't trust the Starks to be like, no, I still want to do my plan. So then you have these, two plans trying to go on at once. And then you have Tyrion's plan, then you have Varys' plan. So you have all these different plans trying to come up with the same results, and then it gives more drama and tension leading into this final episode, as opposed to just a dragon bloodbath.
Well, if you do that, then Arya has to go kill. She has to kill Cersei.
She didn't have to.
No, she doesn't have to. She can be successful.
You're having multiple storylines all conversing at the same time, and you could easily have her, be trapped by rubble or something else that just prevents her from getting there. Look at what
they did with Jon Snow. You thought Jon Snow was supposed to kill the Night's King, but he got stuck.
Right, he doesn't.
And then you go to Arya, which, that was a cool twist. And I was like, oh, awesome. So you don't have to have Arya do fan service and kill Cersei.
But you don't have the Hound tell her that you don't want to live your life with revenge in your heart. You take that scene out completely, right?
No, I thought that was fine. It was a little weirdly placed, but I didn't mind the resolution there.
Okay.
But I think there's multiple things you could have done on the way there. Nick, you had some things that were kind of steamrolling you there.
No. I lost my train of thought.
Okay, all right. Let's go to our last call here.
It was probably something positive about Sansa.
Probably.
Here we go.
Hi, J. Jack and Nick. It is Mike from Los Angeles. I'm calling about episode 5. I don't know if this will get there in time, but I did want to give my thoughts. So I think I like this episode more than most. I do have issues with it, though, as per usual. So I think that, Varys didn't deserve to die, first off. I think that she could have imprisoned him, questioned him, and just kept him as a prisoner for now. And then I thought they didn't earn Daenerys going mad. Even though they dropped hints, even though there are reasons for her to be upset and mad, I don't know that being the Mad Queen and just burning a bunch of innocent people is what she would actually do, given what we've seen on screen. And then I like Game Bowl. I thought generally that was pretty cool, pretty well done. I thought that Cersei and Jaime, if they're dead, which I think is what we're supposed to believe, then that is stupid. Jaime, whatever, that whole character is so bizarre to me. But at least Cersei should have gone out in a bloody death. She should have been stabbed or something. Not rocks, in the crypt. I don't know. I'm looking forward to next week. I hope that they still have something up their sleeves that can, really bring it home. But I don't know. That was a little bit of a disappointment, even though I liked it. Like, I still think they could have done better. Yeah, I'm curious to hear what you guys think.
Thank you, Mike.
So he wasn't all Nick.
No, I guess not. I wonder if this was the card up their sleeve, like the Dany having the heel turn, and that's scary if that's the case. But I think they were going for that kind of like twist, like, oh no, that's horrible. Like you look at the Red Wedding, where it's like, oh no, but again, you look at the Red Wedding.
No, that wasn't. You can't compare last.
Well, no, I'm just saying, but like where he's like, no, God, no, like that. Maybe that's what they were going for. But even the Red Wedding, it made perfect sense that happened because Robb Stark was being an idiot. Like all of that was earned. Last night Dany losing it wasn't a shock. Again, I've said it again. I wasn't shocked that she did that. But I think maybe that's what they were going for, so they buried the lead a little bit. But it didn't feel earned, or it didn't feel like it actually marinated enough to get to there. The same way the Red Wedding did. I don't know, Nick. What do you think?
No, I agree. It's not earned. But would you be surprised if all of a sudden Jaime and Cersei showed up next episode?
Well, I think the actors have said they're dead, but other than that, no. But I think they're dead.
Yeah.
They have come out and said they're dead.
I think so. The actress, I can't remember her name, but I believe they have said they are gone.
Okay.
Toast. Finito.
Because, I mean, even then, it would be kind of still, I think it would be a little bit of a letdown after that ending. Because let's just say Jaime's dead, and then you see Cersei, like, wounded from all the rubble, and then Tyrion or someone finds her, and then...
Then he kills her.
Then he kills her, or she dies. It's like, well, okay, whatever.
They're doing furious reshoots as we speak to try.
She says to Tyrion, "I always loved you. You were my favorite brother." Because I would stay in character, right?
It would. Please forgive me.
Well, I think they better have something up their sleeve next week, because this great show could go down. Not Dexter level. But it could go down as it hurts your legacy to have a terrible ending.
It really does. And like I said, like they have to have something that's just kind of like that. I'm afraid it's just going to be one of those sob story endings where it's just kind of like they're tying everything up, and then Dany and Jon both die or whatever, and that's it. And you're just kind of like,
well, that's another thing. I expect them both to die.
Yeah, I do too. But I do expect at least to have one more kind of like whoa moment, and
Arya goes back to Gendry. What's his name? Gendry. Yeah, she goes back and becomes his wife.
Ugh. Oh, that'd be the worst.
That'd be the worst.
That would happen. She said, like Arya is a badass assassin.
No, I'm just saying it, but I just was throwing it out there.
Jack wants the PG-13 ending.
Oh, God. The Disney ending.
She has a nice house with a white picket fence. And everything's cool.
Awful. Are you in the writers' room for Game of Thrones? Is that why you're defending it so much?
I think that's why I was. I don't want to say it, but I was.
Oh man. All right. Well, thank you.
Because I would have argued the fight between Jaime and what's his name. I would have said no. That's just stupid.
But I feel like the writers' room must just be a bunch of yes people. They're just like, oh yeah, that's so cool. Let's do that. Or they're just collecting a paycheck and they don't care.
I don't know how you could, because you're gonna have to get another job.
Oh, they'll get another job.
Well, they're supposed to be making a Star Wars trilogy.
Good luck with that.
But no, I think their flaw was George told them roughly how the show should end, and they knew how it should end, and they wrote to that. And that's why it's so weak, is that instead of saying like, okay, this needs to happen, let's write a whole episode around that and slowly build it, they went, oh, let's just put these scenes back to back to back, or these conclusions back to back to back, and it's why it feels forced.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
like
you should think about it.
I have no complaints about how Cersei died. I do think, like you guys said, she should have had something up her sleeve, because that would have been true to the character.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Well, that will do it. Thank you, everybody, for your feedback. And that, I think, will do it for the show. There's no what happens in the book stays in the book, as Nick said earlier. But we will be here post the final episode this Sunday. We'll be doing a live show for our patrons doing $15 or more a month.
About 11 o'clock, 10:30?
Probably 10:30-ish, 11-ish.
It was on 7 my time. Yeah, that's fine.
And then that episode will be posted for all of our listeners that following morning.
Now, what if people don't like it? What do we do?
It'll be fun. It'll be an interesting live show.
It'll just be saying one sentence over and over again. Or phrase.
They've ruined it for me.
No, it'd be a lot more worse than that.
Well, if you want to experience it live, pre-edited and sanitized, if it's as Nick is proclaiming it.
Well, let's do a prediction here real quick. Can they save Game of Thrones legacy on this final episode?
It's if you jump the shark the second to last episode, it's like whatever. It's still a great show up to this point. Like, it's still enjoyable. Like, I'm not gonna not watch it or recommend it to people. I was like, it was shaky on the end, but it was still a great show overall. Just the same as like the Harry Potter movies. The books are better and much more nuanced than the movies, but it's still fun to watch the movies. So to me, I don't have that much ill will towards the show in general.
Nick,
if this was a Ramblecast, we'd have the Harry Potter debate, but we're not going to go there.
Well, I'm on the Ramblecast tomorrow, Nick, so we can do that if you want.
That's true. I don't know, because like I said, I think this episode was so bad that it's really going to hurt it, and that they forced a lot of character and storyline to end unjustly. Yes, they could still have a good, positive ending, but I think people will remember this as like a WTF moment of like, because it flips so much so quickly. Because, there's lots of people out there that really love Dany and believed in her and were bitter that their hero for 8 seasons just went mad. I kind of thought that was going to happen, so I was prepared for it. But I understand that. I understand the bitterness of everybody. And, George has promised it's going to be a bittersweet ending, so that didn't surprise me. But I don't know. There's so many things, like I said, that haven't happened. And so many storylines that they've just completely forgotten about and destroyed. And so, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I'm skeptical now. I don't know.
Jack, what do you think now?
You guys have kind of turned me. I don't think there's any hope for it. In fact, I may not even watch it.
Oh, stop it now.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
No, I'm like Jay. I still think it. Like, so was this the best episode ever? No. Was it the worst episode?
I just don't want a Return of the King ending, where they're all at the very, top of the castle, all just kind of like bending a knee, or like, oh, it's all kumbaya. Not that I hate Return of the King. I like Return of the King, but I just don't want a copy of that ending.
Yeah.
You'll be upset when they're all bending the knee to Sansa.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I heard that she's going to get a barbecue.
Oh. Oh, man.
She could.
She'll be hanging out with Owen and Brew.
And that's another thing I kind of want to nitpick too. It's like, so if that doesn't happen, if we do not see Sansa, and Bran especially does not finally show what the hell his purpose was, that will be a huge disappointment for me. It's like, what did you do? What was the whole point of you falling out the window other than to be the keeper of history? It's like, you did
I would agree. We have to see Sansa. We have to see Bran next week. We have to.
Yeah.
I think it's
a chance. Again, it comes down to it's an hour and a half, but is it really an hour and a half with the previews and the next and
what's the last
after
scene?
show
What's
they do? So you get like an hour
it,
and 10 minutes.
Is it Sam all Bilbo Baggins style finishing the last word in his book?
It's him.
I could see
him with
that.
A snow globe.
Yeah, I could totally see the Bilbo Baggins scene with Sam too. Yeah, but you wonder because he's no longer in the Night's Watch. He's got a kid. You could see that ending.
He's got to get a job. Kids got to eat, right? Need shoes.
Oh my god,
it's true.
All right, well, that will do it. We'll see you guys after the finale of Game of Thrones. It should be good. It should be fun. One way or the other. It'll be entertaining, that's for sure.
Indeed.
Give us a call at 385-309-0311.
Calling time.
Send us an email to GameOfThronesPodcast@gmail.com. Join our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/JNJackGroup, where we have tons of fun discussions, including ones about the most recent episodes of Game of Thrones. It was a fun thread to read through after last night's episode, and it's fun for all sorts of other TV show
I was
discussions.
having fun with it. So.
For our other podcasts, you heard Shandy from the broadcast. Check out their awesome show. They've been talking a lot about Game of Thrones as well. We talked about Nick's special Patreon show. We talked about Zach, a.k.a. Bun Patty Bun Jr., as well as his partner, the Turn Twisters, Jack, a.k.a. Bun Patty Bun Sr., their special episode this week. I am joining the Ramblecast crew this week. I will be on with them tomorrow. So
there were some negotiation going on though. Jay said, "How long is the show going to be?"
Yeah, I was like, I'm not in this for like 5 hours.
Well, the Ramblecast is no longer. It's like an hour and 5 minutes tops, isn't it, Nick?
It is, and then we have the extension.
Yeah.
So you can bail after that.
I may, if you guys are lame.
Who's doing the opening? Who's doing the? Is Nick going to still do the opening song? Will you allow him to do that?
Yeah, it's his thing. It's just I'm a guest. I'm filling in for old Skypeck or whatever.
Yeah.
Great. Now I have to find a song.
Or I can do one if Nick doesn't want to. That's fine. All right, but yeah, definitely check that out. Survivor is ending this week. The finale episode is this week. That should be a lot of fun. Also have Amazon, Amazing Race with.
I don't know if Amazing Race is on this week though.
Because of maybe not.
I don't know because Survivor's 2 hours long.
But still, you're podcasting about it. You're podcasting about it, so definitely check out that show as well. All right, that is it. We'll see you guys next time. Hasta luego and goodbye.
See ya.